Hi everyone. So over in the UK, we've just seen Jeremy Corbyn get beaten, badly beaten by Boris Johnson and the Tories. And it's not just he lost; it's that they beat him down, and it was systematic over a period of. It was a long period of time, and there's obviously a lot that went into it, and it wasn't just about Brexit. It was lots of things to erode at his popularity with the public. Now, over in America, they call him the they call Jeremy Corbyn the UK's Bernie Sanders. I made a video that said no, Bernie Sanders is the US's Jeremy Corbyn. He's the weakened down one. But there's a guy in America that doesn't think his chances are all that good. And he's riding a wave at the moment, Bernie. He's rising in the polls, so to speak, as people realise that Joe Biden can't string a sentence together and has the brain capacity of, I think, about a 14-year-old or an 84-year-old, which is not far off, a 184-year-old, you see my point. So yeah, Bernie's rising in popularity in the polls over there, and they're getting a little bit worried. There's a lot of silence and there's a lot of propaganda to try and stop him getting the nomination. I want to give a word of warning to my American friends who are riding on this wave of Bernie and expecting Bernie to, come to the fore and really, be the nominee and beat Trump. I've just seen what they did to Jeremy Corbyn, who 2 years ago, Glastonbury was singing his name. Thousands of people singing his name, and he just got beaten mercilessly by the Tories. That's how quickly the propaganda and the establishment can really come down on you if they focus all their powers upon you. There's a guy in America who liberals will know, lefties will know, Noam Chomsky. And he's warning this same thing that I'm saying right now. This is scary. This guy has a history of being right. I'm going to let this play, and then I'll talk about it.
So now I want to turn to U.S. politics. You have expressed sentiments of support for Bernie Sanders. What are some ways that perhaps his outlook might fall short? I know you've described him as a New Deal Democrat. What are some ways that he can change to fit more, to express more the needs of the American people?
Well, I think it's first of all kind of academic. The chances that Sanders will win the nomination, I think, are not great. The main reason is this tremendous attack on him. Just take a look at how he's treated in the media. It's pretty obvious just from reading, but there's a good study about it by In These Times. They published a detailed study, factual study of how the media have been handling Sanders. So I think all stops will be pulled to make sure that he doesn't get the nomination. If he gets the nomination, the attacks will be wild. We'll get the whole Republican propaganda machine going after this Jewish atheist, wants to kill all the whites, and on and on. Chances he could be elected are pretty small. But if he does get elected, miracle, he won't have Congress. How are you going to win Congress? The Congress is, the U.S. electoral system is structurally constructed so that the reactionary elements have an overwhelming advantage. Like in the last election, I think the Democrats won Senate by about 12 million votes. They lost the Senate. That happens all the time. There's a structural effect that maximizes the effect of the rural, white, conservative, where's our America, traditional vote. The Democratic votes tend to be concentrated in the cities, which most of them are lost, plus the gerrymandering and the voter suppression and everything else. So there has to be an enormous Democratic victory for them to win Congress, which is unlikely. Furthermore, even if you win Congress, Most of the people elected among the Democrats are basically what they call blue dog Democrats, moderate Republicans. They're not going to support Sanders' plans. On top of all of that, the fact is that U.S. politics are dominated by wealth. We see that all the time. The wealthy basically control legislation. So the barriers against carrying out progressive legislation are quite high. So it could happen, but it would require an enormous popular mobilization, the kind that took place in the 1930s that enabled the New Deal measures to be carried.
That was obviously Noam Chomsky, and he's warning there. He's warning against warning people who think that Bernie Sanders is going to win, somehow, wipe the floor and become president. He's warning it. And I've seen what they've done to Jeremy Corbyn over here. Jeremy Corbyn, who, remember, they were chanting his name 2 years ago. I just saw somebody in the chat say, leave Corbyn alone. He had the entire weight of the establishment coming against him. Pretty much saying that in this stream, mate. I'm also pointing out where he was wrong as well. My job is what I do. But Chomsky's saying there, his chances aren't good. His chances are not just not good of winning the presidency, he says. His chances aren't good of winning the primary. Now think about that. The primary. I have seen with Labour the way the party, not just the party hierarchy, it's just like an infestation within the party, has nobbled Corbyn at every single turn. They're going to do the same with Bernie. They are with Bernie. I did a video with Jamal the other day, and I said to him, he said, what about if they cheat him? What about if they cheat him in the primary? What about if they cheat him in the general? They will find ways. And that's all the other ways that they can cheat him without you finding out, without the blatant ones like vote rigging and changing the vote count. 14-year-olds can hack a voting machine in America. Not just a 14-year-old hacker. No, a 14-year-old now experienced, given some instruction, they can hack a voting booth. Protect the integrity of our elections from Russia, they say there. He mentioned, there was a study by In These Times about how the propaganda machine can really come down on you. And I've seen it over here with Corbyn. The propaganda attacks that are going to be on Bernie Sanders just up until the Democratic National primary, up until the convention. The attacks are going to get relentless. They're going to get more and more and more and more. And that's without all the other underhand ways they're going to cheat him with, delegates, etc., etc., etc. We all know about the theory that, hey, they're winning so many candidates just to try and get it to the second ballot. That's Donna Brazil there saying, hey, we're still setting the menu. We're not at the table anymore. We're still setting the menu. She said that in a tweet. Brazen. Even if he wins the nomination and somehow wins the nomination, and I would not be surprised if he did, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, knowing how an establishment can really turn the screw, as they have done over here recently with Corbyn. It's going to get worse. If he wins, it'll get worse, and then the propaganda attacks will get wild on him, and they'll just keep repeating things over and over and over. I mean, at the moment, he's just got the MSNBC and CNN after him. Won't be long before Fox go after him as well, and then you got the right. You see where this is going. Like he said, Jewish atheist? He's atheist, really? Oh, let's get some evangelical Christians on there. Come up. What's the evangelical Christian think tank? What's their number? You can see where this is going. They're going to get worse, and it's going to be relentless. And trust me, the closer it gets to any election, be that Democratic convention, the primaries, all but the general, the presidential election. They're going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. What you've seen right now is nothing compared to how, if what we've seen over here in the UK is anything to go by. And from what I've seen in my experience of the last 3 years of really looking at the news closely, there's a mirror there in what's going on. Something happens in the United States, they catch a cold, we start sneezing a week later. It really is like that. So his chances of winning the nomination are pretty small, according to Chomsky there. Can you imagine if he then had to go up against Trump? Okay, with Trump attacking him over and over and over about he's part of the establishment, about this, what's the matter, Bernie? They cheated him. Oh, to get weak Bernie, he's going to call. What's he going to call him? What's his nickname going to be for Bernie going to be? You can imagine, he's a master at it, Trump is. I can't stand him, I really can't. But he's a master. What's his nickname for Bernie going to be? I haven't heard it yet. We've all heard Sleepy Joe, and look how Bernie treats him. My friend Joe. He'll point out, you're part of them. You're one of them. You're friends with these people. He'll attack him over that. Trump will. He'll make him look silly. He will turn him in knots. And I promise you, he will. And I'm going to give you examples of where Bernie is weak and how Bernie is going to attack him. Sorry, how Trump will attack him. I'm surprised that the other candidates are part of the DNC, so they can't attack him this way. Trump will. I'll get to it in a second. He needs to get cutthroat, Bernie does, with allegations, with smears. And I haven't seen him do it yet. What I've seen is capitulate. Just the same as Corbyn did. I see Corbyn take the path of least resistance and say, oh, no, we don't want to rock the boat. Hands-off approach as much as possible. Just the same as Bernie's doing now. Trump's going to nail him. What? They cheated you and you're still going, you can't, they're not even your party. You're not even a Democrat, he's going to say. You know he's going to bring it up. And he's going to do it over and over and over, and it's going to stick with some people. My friend Joe, remember, Bernie says, he's part of them. My friend Joe, I like Joe. He's going to hammer him over that. He's going to hammer him over his support of Russiagate. Because by then, if it does get to election time, trust me, the Russiagate fiasco is going to be more and more to the surface. I've been looking closely on how Barr and Durham are conducting their report into the origins of Russiagate. Remember, they've turned that into a criminal inquiry now. We've heard about James Comey coming out, no, it's vindicated me. No, well, it doesn't actually, James. You see what I mean. Now, whether people are going to go to jail for it, who knows? But one thing's for sure, Bernie pushed it as well, remember. You know that Trump's going to hand his ass on a plate over that. And then, like I say, he's got to get cutthroat. Not just in his attacks, but also in his defence of people. Look at how he threw Matt Orfalea under the bus, as Jimmy Dore pointed out in his shows. And not only that, Cenk Uygur recently. Endorsing him and then unendorsing him over blog posts he did in 2003, for Christ's sake. 2003. Matt Orfalea was 10 years ago too, 12 years ago. Matt Orfalea was totally out of context. Cenk Uygur, same thing happening with the New York Times. I saw. Bernie, oh, withdrew. I withdraw my endorsement. The fuck? You've got to stand your ground. You cannot keep capitulating like this. It shows signs of weakness. And that loses you votes. I have seen it with Corbyn for the last 12 months. Bit by bit by bit, they chipped away at him. How long is it till the presidential election? 11? You have to stand up for the people that have got your back. especially over shit that they did 16 years ago. Come on. Bernie, go and read Edward Snowden permanent record. Go and read it. Everybody's got one now. If you're going to be dredging up old stuff, if they're going to dredge up everything that everybody's ever said and dredge up old stuff that's slightly controversial to get you withdrawing your support for them or even a job in Matt Orfaller's case, must the matter, then what are we supporting? You know? If that is the bar, you can't have said anything controversial or mildly misogynistic or racist, or you can't have said a joke or anything like that that's racist or misogynistic in your lifetime. Otherwise, no job for you, no future for you. What the fuck? Who are we going to start electing? What sort of people are going to get jobs? I'll tell you what sort of people. The boringest motherfuckers on the planet. Can you imagine sitting... Oh, God, can you imagine sitting next to somebody like that who's never said anything controversial? Or an inappropriate joke. Said anything inappropriate on Twitter. Especially when they're a teenager where the brain hasn't developed yet, for Christ's sake. He's going to lose support for it as well, Bernie, for this. He may be gaining support at the moment, and I'm sure he is. But remember, most people are not paying attention at all to the primary at this stage. Most are not. No matter what poll you see, ask them, did they ask the question, are you paying really much attention? Because I guarantee you 95% of them are going to go, no. Who's running? That's at the moment. They will get more interested as the election gets closer. Then we've got the scenario where, okay, Bernie's overcome all these obstacles in America. He's done what Corbyn hasn't done. He's achieved what Corbyn didn't achieve over here. He's beaten the rigged primaries. He's beaten the cheating from the DNC. He's beaten the merciless propaganda campaign that's coming. He's beaten all the special interests and whatever, and the smears and the lies and the propaganda and the grassroots organisations and the attempts to hijack. He's beaten all of them. Then he's got to the election. He's beaten Trump. He's somehow managed to take down Trump. Okay, then what you're left with? Well, then that's when it really gets hard. Honestly, I'm just telling you the way it is. That's when it really gets hard. He won't have Congress. Chomsky was right. He won't have Congress. Not only will he have the GOP fighting him then, he'll still have the DNC. He won't just have MSNBC and CNN, he'll also have Fox fighting him as well. And then you've got the gerrymandering and the voter suppression, etc., etc., etc. There would, he wouldn't have Congress, for him to have any sort of power. It would need to be an enormous Democratic victory. Enormous. By a DNC that will actively hijack him, will actively cut his legs from underneath him. They would rather have Trump than a socialist. They would rather have Trump. Trump said, we will never be a socialist country in his State of the Union address. And Elizabeth Warren stood up and applauded. They would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie Sanders. So even if there's this massive win by the Democrats, and let's face it, can you see that happening right now? Even if Bernie is the nominee, you've still got probably 2/3 of the party against him, which is exactly the scenario that Jeremy Corbyn was in here. There is only one thing that is going to change this, and Chomsky alluded to it at the end. And I'm ending my live stream on this tonight, and I don't want to be much of a downer because it's been pretty depressing. But it's going to need, there is a ray of hope. It's going to need, he says, an enormous popular mobilization. That's what's needed, not just in America, over here as well. But it's going to need us to get people involved who are currently either misinformed or uninformed or currently completely blinded by corporate propaganda. We're going to have to open their eyes. And one thing's for certain, the current social media platforms we have, they are not going to put our stuff in front of those eyes. So, to do that, to get an enormous popular mobilization of people, not just in America, but over here as well, if we really, really, really want change, to do that, to reach these people, to open their eyes to the truth, and to get them involved, it's going to take us all to shoulder the responsibility. All of us are going to have to make sure that we do what we can to get the truth to them, and recommend independent media as much as you can. Support it. Because Bernie Sanders in America is going to face an absolute avalanche over in America, the likes the US has never seen of propaganda and the establishment coming down on him. I've seen it over here with Corbyn. And quite honestly, it's impressive how oiled the machine is. Support independent media, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe our work. Talk to your friends and family about it. Really get people involved. Because I honestly, and this is not hyperbole, I honestly believe that humanity really does depend on it. Support us however you can. And throw us a few bucks if you can afford it each month. We don't need much to keep going. Make Orwell fiction again.